everyone, Marcus here with another episode of the Dolphins Zone. I just want to get two things straight here really quick, and I'm not even going to do my normal stuff before anything. I'm just going to cut right to the chase. Colin Cowherd, I respect the man as a journalist. He's right. He has every right to his opinion, but this Dolphins hate needs to stop. What does Tua and the Dolphins have to do to continue to change this dude's mind? I mean, he didn't predict Miami to make the playoffs last year or the year before that. And guess what, buddy? We made it twice already. He's picked them for the third year in a row not to make the playoffs. And, he picked other teams ahead of us that he feels would make the playoffs. There's an article online. You can go look it up. It's out there. But he put the Los Angeles Chargers on there, making the playoffs over the Dolphins. Now, I'm no rocket scientist, okay? Chargers were 5-11 this past year. 5-11. Or 5-12, I mean. And granted, they had a head coach who was an idiot. But their defense was horrid. Okay, the Chargers' defense was horrid. They had no run game to speak of. So, yeah, Justin Herbert's good. Yes, they got Keenan Allen. Yes, they got some pieces to contend. But the Chargers realistically are nowhere even near ready to contend for a playoff spot. Now, granted, Jim Harbaugh is a good coach, and he'll have those guys ready. Don't get me wrong. And I think the Chargers will surprise some people next year. But I don't think those guys are going to be anywhere near ready to play in the playoffs. Not only that, but he even snubbed the Texans, okay? The Texans have C.J. Stroud. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Okay, Colin? You have the Jaguars and the Colts making it over the Texans? Have you lost your mind? You have the Chargers making it over these teams? Have you lost your mind? I understand that you say that your whole logic, Colin Cowherd. I understand that your whole logic says the reason that you chose Miami not to make the playoffs this year is because of Tua's health. But guess what? He was healthy last year. Okay? And now you're saying that he might not be healthy next year? And that's the only reason why you're keeping Miami out of the playoffs? Don't you suppose it's a little petty? Don't you suppose that is a little off for your character? Don't you? I mean, I'm not a rocket scientist, but Skylar Thompson didn't do too bad running that offense. He didn't do great. He also didn't do horrid either. Mike White, he's shown that he can run an offense efficiently with the Jets. Not only that, but unlike the Jets, he's got more resources to work with. So don't you suppose we could win with or without Tua? I sure as hell think we could. So this whole Tua durability bullshit has to stop. I'm sorry. It's got to stop. There is nothing that is going to make me change my mind. And I understand, Colin Cowherd. You are entitled to your opinion. Okay, but us other Dolphins fans out there who respect their quarterback, who love our quarterback, who want our team to make the playoffs, we're sick and tired of it. Okay? Now, do I think Tua has earned a contract extension? Yes, I do. Do I think he's earned $50 million? Hell no. And this is what I say. I say you give Tua a decent contract, a fair contract, like some of the other quarterbacks. However, you don't guarantee him as much money. Instead, you give it to him in incentives. And if he can meet those incentives, he gets the money. Not only that, but it would also help with cap space too. and to be more cap flexible. And I'm sure Tua would understand if you did that. But you don't want to sign this guy for $50 million when you have other stuff to deal with. And if I'm the Dolphins, you can be like, okay, Tua, we'll give you a contract extension, but we've got other stuff that we have to focus on first, such as bringing back Christian Wilkins, AVG, Robert Hunt. Those are the three most important free agents, if you ask me. Maybe Cedric Wilson, because we need wide receiver depth. If we can get Cedric Wilson back on a decent deal. But outside of that, all those other free agents that we got, you can let them walk. Kendall Lamb was good. We bring him back on a decent, cheap contract. For some depth purposes. Lester Cotton showed some potential as a offensive lineman. Let Connor Williams go. William Eichenberg proved that he can play center. I mean, he wasn't terrible. He wasn't good either. But he's a good enough center for us, I think, to get by on. So I say, don't worry about signing Connor Williams. I feel that Tua deserves an extension, and I feel that he deserves a fair contract, and I feel that he's earned a big deal. But I don't think that he's earned 30. Hold on, let me phrase this. I don't think that he has earned 50 million. I don't think he's earned 50 million. I think realistically, you could pay him at the most 45 million. However, I realistically feel that you shouldn't pay more than 40 to 42 million a year for him. And I'm actually more comfortable with the 36 to 42 million range. So that's just how I view it. But I say you have one more year of Tua, let him earn it. Let him go out there and elevate. Because don't get me wrong, Tua is a good quarterback, Tua is a great quarterback, and I think he's a good quarterback. But there were times where he did not look his best and his most efficient. And the play calls, I felt, looked okay. And, I'm a firm believer in you're only as good as the talent that you play, and you're only as good as the team that you face. We only beat one team last year. One team. Last year. With a winning record. The only other team that we beat even close to a team with a winning record was the Denver Broncos, and we dropped 70 on them. You look at the Jets, they won 7 games. Patriots won 4. Commanders won 4. Panthers won 2. Let's see. The list goes on. You beat the Giants, they only won 5 games. You beat a lot of crap teams. You beat the Chargers. They had 5 wins. Granted, nobody expected the Chargers to be that bad. And granted, I think the Chargers were probably, out of all the teams that were garbage last year, were probably the best team that we faced that had a losing record outside of Denver. So, when the only 3 teams that you beat last year that were even remotely even close to being decent were the Cowboys, and you barely beat them, the Chargers, and you barely beat them, and then the Broncos, and you beat the absolute snot out of them. That's 1 game. That's 2 games. It's 3 games out of... That's 3 teams. out of the other teams that we played. But yet, Tua struggled against Baltimore. Struggled against Baltimore. He struggled against Philly. He struggled against Kansas City. But some of the stuff I understand wasn't his fault. And I'm not saying that he's the reason that they lost those games or won those games. But what I'm saying is this: a quarterback doesn't necessarily mean that you win or lose a game. Football is a team sport. Okay? And I don't know if you guys remember, but a few years ago, we had Jay Cutler at quarterback. Okay? And we had a shot to make the playoffs. And he played okay. Jay Cutler played okay. He didn't play great. He didn't play bad. But he did okay. Jay Cutler gave us a shot to contend for the playoffs. And we came up just short because we had a head coach who was an idiot, i.e. Adam Gase. And we had a team that didn't have as much depth as this team does. Okay? And we didn't have as good of an offense or defense as that team. And Jay Cutler kept us in that. Okay? If a subpar quarterback like Jay Cutler can keep us in playoff contention, Tua can keep us in playoff contention. Mike White can keep us in playoff contention. Skylar Thompson can keep us in playoff contention. Because the fact of the matter is, Mike McDaniel is a head coach who has worked with good quarterbacks. Okay? He's helped mold quarterbacks. He's worked with Kyle Shanahan. Look at what Shanahan's done with Brock Purdy. Skylar Thompson has a similar skill set to what Brock Purdy has. Okay? And if you look at the games that Skylar Thompson started and played in, with as bad as that offensive line was, I mean, if Tua struggled, Skylar Thompson wasn't going to do much better. Just saying. Not only that, but Skylar Thompson, yeah, he threw 2 dumb interceptions. Yes, that's true. He threw 2 dumb interceptions in that wild card game against Buffalo. One wasn't his fault. Okay. One was just a dumb pass. But when you look at it in the brighter picture of things, he did everything that he could to put us in position to win. So, my point is, Colin Cowherd, if your only reason to keep Miami out of the playoffs is because of Tua's durability, you have no ground to stand on. We have one of the better quarterback rooms in the league. We have a good coach that can get the most out of any quarterback. We have a coach that can get the best out of any player. And we've got a defensive coordinator who's coming from a team like the Baltimore Ravens, who you have listed going to the playoffs this next year. There's no guarantee the Ravens are still going to have Odell Beckham Jr. Okay? There's no guarantee that some of those guys that you have that are free agents in Baltimore, who's to say they're going to stay? Who's to say that they're not going to go to Miami or anywhere else? Who's to say that team will be the same team? Okay? And you could make the logic. Last year was one of the first seasons that Lamar Jackson was fully healthy. And yet you have Baltimore going. My point is that you're biased, you hate Tua, and you don't care. You just want to find an excuse to keep the Dolphins out of the playoffs. That's fine. That's your opinion. And I understand your opinion, and I respect your opinion, buddy. But here's the thing. I could say, oh, well, if the defense is banged up, I could buy that as a reason to say that we're going to miss the playoffs. But when you have an offense with as much talent as we do, and you have a head coach who can work with any quarterback, whether it be Tua, Skylar, or Mike White, we can win with any quarterback at any given time. Okay? Football is a team sport. It doesn't rely on just one player. It never has. And this is not me saying that I think Tua is our future. and this is not me saying that I hate Tua. I am neutral when it comes to Tua. I feel that the guy deserves respect, and I feel that the guy is under contract. But by the same token, I feel that he should only be paid what is fair, and I feel that he should only be paid what he has shown the Dolphins. And I don't think he's shown the Dolphins 50 million. I don't think he's shown the league 50 million. I think he's shown a little bit less. I say realistically like 35 mil. Okay? That's just the bottom line. And I've defended Tua before, and I will do it again because he's our team's quarterback. I will continue to defend him unless he's not our starting quarterback. That's just how it goes. When you're a fan of a team, you have to defend your players, especially the captain of your team. Heck, if somebody bitched about Tyreek Hill, I would defend him. I'm not a hater, and I'm not a fanatic. I just love the Miami Dolphins, and I love the sport, and I love Tua Tagovailoa being our quarterback. I really do. He's a good quarterback. He deserves every chance to be our quarterback. Okay? But by the same token, everybody else on this roster deserves to have an opportunity to be on this roster. Chris Grier, I think, is an idiot and trying to assemble this team, and that's Chris Grier's problem. But I think Mike McDaniel is a lot more intelligent than what people believe he is. Okay? I guarantee you, if we got rid of Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel was given a GM who was smart, who knew football a lot better, I guarantee you we would have a more successful team. I'm not saying Chris Grier is the entire reason why we're not a successful team, but I'm saying he's probably part of it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I've had my rant long enough today. Thank you for watching, and fins up.